My upload for the 28th of April in 2020 is with regards to being a victim of hate crime and the offences that I've experienced and the assaults that I've experienced with regards to my character, reputation, and good name, culminating basically as very serious defamation about my past, my personal life, etc., and my profession also. Um, it has been made aware to the relevant ombudsmen and authorities the experiences that I've had and the offences that have been caused. Um, as a victim, this is a harrowing situation for an adult professional to be experiencing unjustifiably. Um, as I've mentioned, as a victim of assault over a decade ago that I recovered from, that I'd forgiven, and that I had moved on from, um, to be a victim yet again of very serious defamation, very serious wrongdoings, very serious offences since I gave birth and got married to a property owner in 2015. The lack of acknowledgement um, by those obligated to safeguard my rights as an Irish EU citizen, um, you know, to be so nonchalant about the experiences that have been caused for me is absolutely horrific. Um, while these offences that I've been subjected to are being ignored, there are individuals that are guilty culprits that are intentionally perpetrating further, more serious and more dangerous offences. Um, the fact that I've mentioned in the past that any individuals that are guilty culprits, even being in close proximity to their victims, um, without it being acknowledged, the threats in society that these individuals would be causing for women, men, or children, while also perpetrating defamation and further violations, doesn't give much hope for victims. So in 2020, for this to be occurring, it's absolutely horrific. In a small community, um, or any community, a small community in particular, when it's so easy for people to defame and isolate a person, it's quite easy also for them to basically rearrange the facts of a situation and basically abuse positions to continue on in their vendetta of violations and victimization. So the lack of supports and services provided for victims in circumstances such as I'm experiencing, since I got married and since I gave birth, um, leaves a lot of questionable queries with regards to how evolved and progressive a community or a collective, whether they be social trendsetters or whether they are officials or whether they are, you know, just regular citizens or, you know, people facilitating serious wrongdoings, all factions of a community that facilitate human rights violations is absolutely inexcusable, especially when unjustifiable. So, as a victim of hate crime and very serious offences, I'm absolutely appalled that as a professional, as a teacher, as an educator, that information has been withheld from me that I'm fully entitled to. There's next of kin information that has been withheld from me. There has been information withheld with regards to my property rights. There have been people perpetrating inviolability of dwellings and trespassing, and there have been people discussing matters that have nothing at all to do with them. But that's the level of intrusion and brazenness that I'm confronted with. So, as a victim, it's very disappointing that with having respected the law and with having respected other people's rights and privacy, that things have deteriorated so much in society that wrongdoings and the people responsible have been incapable and incompetent to rectify the damage that they've caused. The insults that I've experienced far outweigh the injuries that I've experienced. My profession is a teacher. That's all I've really worked as, an administrator for departments of the government. And, you know, to be disrespected as a mother and a wife and as a law-abiding citizen and as a teacher in particular, I think it's pretty scandalous that women in particular would facilitate this kind of offensive vendetta. Identity theft is pretty serious, but spiritual violence is even worse. Um, these matters are all repetitive, but these uploads have been shared with the relevant agencies and there is still no acknowledgement. But yet there are culprits preparing for their wrongdoings and further offences, and it's very serious that these kind of matters are being ignored. We all know about the bystander effect. We know also that basically people that stand by and do nothing and let the guilty culprits run riot and cause as many more offences as they like um, are just as guilty as those actually, you know, doing the offending. So the bystander effect is occurring. There are people fully aware of what's going on. There are women's rights being desecrated and disrespected. I've experienced spiritual violence in every violation of the Declaration, or every right of the Declaration of Human Rights and the Constitution of Ireland has been violated in this vendetta that I'm experiencing. And still, the relevant agencies have not um, acknowledged the seriousness of those perpetrating financial theft, property theft, identity theft, etc. So, imposter syndrome is another factor in all of this. There's been falsification of information, and there has been um, fake evidence, fake facts, a lot of fakeness. So that for a light worker and a member of the fellowship and an educator to be tolerating is absolutely shocking. So the injuries that contend with medical incompetence that I've experienced is also another issue. Women's rights and those disrespecting women's health and professionals intruding and imposing and defaming a credible individual, an authentic individual, simply to assist with the imposters, to insist or assist the imposters causing this problem for me is just even more difficult to come to terms with. So property theft is pretty dangerous. Identity theft is pretty dangerous. And financial theft that I've experienced and financial abuse and exploitation is all very dangerous. So as a teacher with a clean record that has been experiencing these offences, I'm concerned for students in particular with regards to topics contending with SPHE and such. Um, the regard I give to those um, perpetrating spiritual violence and spiritual identity theft is very little. There are people, as I've mentioned in previous uploads, that have masqueraded as light and love, fantastic individuals and social trenders, and in fact, they are guilty culprits of very serious assaults of my bodily integrity and character, reputation, and good name. So, as I've said, these uploads are the honest reality of the circumstances being caused in a very morose matter that is unjustifiable and inexcusable. These uploads have been shared, and in the meantime, there are people trying to fabricate and fake their way out of the mess that they've caused. So, this upload is for the attention of authorities. And as a victim, I think, there's extra special measures required to safeguard my rights in society. My right to freedom, my right to my family, my right to my property, my right to my career, my right to my medical care. So when that doesn't happen, and with regards to the damages done and the amount of theft that I've experienced, um, just concerns me even more. Because as we know, there are people spearheading what they consider to be an evolved collective. But unfortunately, those individuals have an inability to correct their wrongdoings from over 10 years ago with regards to revenge porn, and they've been incapable to be honest, and they've been incapable of being professional. So this upload is for the attention of the authorities. Um, I have been victimized and violated, and the financial theft, the spiritual violence, the property theft, the identity theft are the matters I'm contending with at the moment also. So when information is withheld from a victim, such as advocacy or any other support or services, it leaves a lot to be worrying about with regard to other female victims in society. So the authorities have a very huge obligation to ensure the safety of victims in particular, because threats to society that are guilty of these kind of vendettas that I've explicitly and clearly explained the experience that they cause. For those kind of people to be safeguarded and facilitated doesn't just, you know, demoralize other victims, but also um, it demoralizes society because the Constitution is there for a reason, and we all have our constitutional rights, and especially law-abiding citizens. And when that doesn't happen, what does it say about society? So this is what's occurring. The insults have been horrendous. Uh, the injuries have been inexplicable, and this vendetta that's occurring and continuously being perpetrated um, is just a sad sign of the times. So the guilty culprits I'm aware of, and what has been damaged and what has been stolen and what has been perpetrated and falsely relayed and the fake evidence and the fake information, I'd appreciate it if the record could be put straight. I'd appreciate it if there would be respect for my constitutional rights and my human rights. And those perpetrating property theft, identity theft, and financial theft, as well as spiritual violence, I'd appreciate it if they'd be held accountable before there are other people damaged as a consequence of their agendas. So that's my upload for today. And as a person that has respected the law, I'd appreciate it if the law would respect me, because there's nothing worse than imposters imposing where they don't belong.